Welcome to Tanks Up, the podcast all about craft beer and video games. I'm Ben and Aadil, and this week I'm joined by Aadil Koji.
Hey.
And Lucy Yearwood.
Hello.
How are you both? Good? Aadil?
Pretty good.
Good.
Being swarmed by cats.
That's not unusual for you.
But now that I'm not on a couch, they are actually crawling on me.
Nice.
Which means that the headphone cable is getting tugged. There we go.
Nice. How about you, Lucy? You being swarmed by cats?
No, sadly not. I do want a kitten though, because this cat that we took in, that was a stray. She went missing a few months ago.
Oh no!
She strayed off.
Yeah, a stray strayed in and then she strayed back off. So after a few years, but yeah. So I want a kitten.
Nice. They are good. Right, let's kick into some beers. What beers are you guys kicking off with?
Ladies first.
Okay. This is called Blood Orange IPA.
Ooh.
It's from Breweridge de Molen. So I can't remember where. Are they Danish or something? I can't remember. But
Sounds almost Dutch.
Yeah, but is it Dutch?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to research this. See, I should have researched it. Or is it Belgian?
Yeah, I was going to say it sounds Belgian Dutch or Dutch.
Yeah. Well, the website has .nl, so yeah, you're right, Dutch. But yeah, that's it says a fruit rye IPA-ish strong beer, so
Nice.
that'll be my first one.
Cool.
Strong is strong.
Let's have a look. 6.2%.
Ooh.
Pretty strong.
Man.
Both my beers are 6.5%. I am going to have a limited run. See, I guess I have an IPA and a white IPA. I'm guessing the white IPA first.
Maybe.
No, I'll do the white IPA last, which is the limited run one. Just because I've mentioned it, and now everyone can be like, well, could you? No. Instead, we're gonna have Red Racer IPA. It's our lovely Red Racers from, I think, 3 episodes ago. Not
Yeah, a few
including
episodes
E3.
ago. Yep. The cat likes it.
No, he was licking my hand.
Oh.
My cats think they're dogs. It's 6.5%, as I said, and its IBUs are 80. It has 80 of the IBUs, and it's Canadian.
Ooh.
So there's, and this is a BC Surrey. It has a little blurb. A style of ale fashioned to survive the long voyage from England to India during the British colonization. This award-winning IPA is about hops, and more hops. This ale has an intense aroma and a long, lingering finish. A beer for the connoisseur. This is the brewmaster's choice.
I can't imagine they've been around since England first went over to India.
No, they're saying IPAs have...
No, I know.
It won... Oh, but this is interesting. It says it's an award-winning IPA, but the 2 little awards say Brewery of the Year 2010 and 2012. But Brewery of the Year doesn't say all of the beers you have are award-winning.
No, it does not.
It says you have a really nice building and people inside it. But yes, and of course...
Nice.
Did you say 80 IBU?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think maybe I should have ended with it after all.
I'm going to start with the Magic Rock Brewing Highwire West Coast Pale Ale.
Oh no.
I've not had it before, so...
Is it this one?
It is that one!
That's great, that means you guys can compare notes.
Oh no, have I... Right, hang on. Is that going to be your second beer?
I'll have it first. Shall I have
Right,
it first?
unless you've opened your other one.
I haven't opened the other one
Right.
yet. Start off.
God, we're so coordinated.
This was all planned.
Exactly.
To be.
Even this conversation where we're referencing how it's planned and referencing the reference and etc. is all scripted. It's right here on this piece of paper.
It is.
Because we print out our scripts.
Whilst we crack into these beers, I shall explain what's going to happen during the episode. We're going to talk about games, as we always do. We're going to talk about a game each. And then we're going to discuss...
Gameage?
Gameage, yes. No, okay. I said a game each. A game each. Perhaps I need to enunciate more.
I kind of like this like pseudo mid-90s hip Oh yeah, what'd you do all weekend? Oh, I was bummed around the house, did a lot of gameage.
Some gameage. No, we're not going back to the 90s. We are going to be talking about G2A and the furore that has been caused with, is it Tiny Build, the developer?
Yeah.
And some stolen keys for some of their games. But we should talk about that a little bit later. Aadil, as Lucy and I are probably going to talk for a couple of minutes between us about how the beer is we've got. How's yours?
Okay, so first of all, it's very clear. I would say amber honeyish in color. The head is actually quite substantial. I haven't had an IPA with that created a sort of inch head that's lingered since I poured in a long time.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's got a really nice nose. It's actually kind of quite smooth. Lemony? Snicket? No, just lemony. There's a sweetness I can't quite tell.
Is it like caramel or?
No, it's almost almost like white sugar. Like it's a very clean sweetness. There's not sort of any other things going on. And of course, a lovely lingering but very sort of light hops smell, like that skunkiness of hops. But it's not overpowering, but I'll have a sip.
Nice. Whilst Aadil was sipping, he can come back to us with his thoughts. What do you think about the high wire, Luce?
I actually really like it. It's not as hoppy as I'd probably like, but yeah, it's really nice. Nice smell.
Yeah.
Nice fruity smell.
Very, very similar in the smell as in the taste.
Yeah, because a lot of times you have a disconnect where, they smell lovely, but it doesn't always come through in the body. So, but this is really nice. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's got that nice sort of tropical hit to it in the nose, and you kind of get that in the flavour, but it's a bit more of a sour sort of like grapefruit. Yeah, I'm going to say it's fucking grapefruit, aren't I? It kind of, but it is that.
Is it as citrusy as grapefruit, or is it more of the tartness of the grapefruit that you're referring to?
More the tartness, I think. It's quite dry as well. I suppose it always happens as we talk about the beers. Like we get very dry mouth, but this one's sort of not quite as dry as one of the beers I had a few weeks ago, which has left me, which I can't remember. But it does have a nice dry finish, but as Lucy said, not quite as hoppy as
interesting
as I would have thought. But how's yours taste? Did you take a big swig?
It's really smooth. In that, like, there's a lot of hop going on, but it's not like... Usually a very hoppy beer is one that the hops are like a phone book to the face. It knocks you out, but doesn't leave a bruise. Actually, I don't know if that works on the face. It definitely works on the body, according to pop culture references. Anyway, it's quite hoppy, but again, you know how I said the sort of hoppiness in the nose was quite sort of subdued, I guess. It's although it's not, it doesn't feel like it's lessened, but it's just not very in your face.
Yeah.
The taste is like that too, and doesn't. Usually, you get this like dropping curve of the sort of hoppiness and the dryness in your mouth after you on an IPA, especially. And now it's been one weird reference and a ramble, and it's still just as strong. Like it seems like all of the hops are working together to just be a long taste rather than sort of a smack in the face and then
like a big flavour. Yeah.
It's really, really quite lovely.
Nice. So we shall move on to games and enjoy these beers. Lucy, as our guest, I'm going to allow you to kick off.
Okay. Well, I haven't played many games recently because I think the last game prior to the one I'm going to speak about, I finished was Uncharted 4.
Okay.
That was a few weeks ago, and I've just not been in the mood to play anything really. But then I got sent a code for a game called 10 Second Ninja S. I saw that too. Rolling your eyes. But I spoke to you about this, about what to pick up on Vita, Aadil, 10 Second Ninja X. I think it might be already out on PC. But it's coming to consoles and Vita next month.
Vita's a console. It's a handheld console.
True. I don't really call. Do you call handhelds consoles? I just call them handhelds.
Yeah, most colloquially people do, but if you go to the websites which tell you how to hypothetically take your console and run code on it that wasn't sold to you by some sort of licensed publisher, just so you know how technology works and can really understand how complicated these things are, those educational sites, they call them handheld consoles.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I stand corrected then. But yeah, it's basically like a precision platformer. You have these single screen levels. You play as a little ninja, obviously from the title, and then basically what you do is there's so many enemies that you have to kill, these robots or something like that. I played on Xbox One, so it's simply just running and jumping. So the controls are pretty simple. It's just, the A button to run, jump, etc. And then you have the X button to slash using your sword. And then you have the B button to throw shuriken. You only have 3 of those per level. And it's basically a game that's built on a simple concept, but it's just, executed really well. And you have 10 seconds to complete every level.
Nice. Very literal.
Yeah. And you start playing it. I started playing it. Basically, the time in which you complete each level determines how many stars that you get on the level. So the quicker the time, the more stars, etc. And you need so many stars to unlock the next set of levels.
Oh, okay. It's like Hitman Go and hex cells.
Yeah, perfect analogy. But yeah, that's how it is. But I started playing through it and I was like, am I just too old for this? I mean, it's 10 seconds. You have to be so precise in your movements. And then I realised that I was only getting like 1 star in each level. But then going back to levels, understanding the way the level is being, mapped. It's really good level design as well. Just in the way that the fact that you can always get better. And you think 3 stars is unattainable at the start, but after that, after you keep practicing and practicing and practicing, you understand what you have to do, understand like little differences in the gameplay and certain things that you can exploit, and then you basically get better. And it's just one of those things where it's just like such great gameplay. I mean, it has some tacked-on story, which it really didn't need. It's just good. Just good mechanics and a good game.
Yeah.
So is it kind of? It sounds your description reminds me of Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, it's a lot like that as well, even down to like the art style as well. But it's precision platforming. That's what it is. So
does it? Obviously, you've got this. Replayability and having to go back and understand sort of the nuance of the level and how to be able to get better at doing it. Does it become, or did it become boring, sort of having to go back and keep doing this to then unlock stuff further? I mean, did you play it for sort of 10 minutes and then think, actually, no, I can't be bothered to
10 minutes? That's like
open up anymore.
60 levels.
Wow.
I think overall there's... I think there was 6 worlds with 10 levels each, so yes, it was 60 levels, and then you can unlock legacy levels, and then you can unlock legacy levels after that. But
what makes them legacy levels?
Yeah, I think they're just they're a bit harder. That's it, really. But no, it didn't get boring at all because when you're playing something that's 10 seconds. You can play that level over and over and over again. Really, you've only invested 2 minutes of your time anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's like the super hexagon approach too.
And they keep adding different mechanics. Like so, for example, in the first world, you'll encounter like electrified parts, electrified platforms, so you can't jump on those. In others, they introduce like levers which make different areas and platforms move up and down, etc. Or in like another world, they have like these laser beams which your shuriken will bounce off and stuff like that. So they kept adding it and adding it. It's quite a smooth difficulty curve because they're not just throwing everything at you at once. They do it incrementally and just kept it interesting. from start to finish. I played it and finished it within a day. So
Oh wow,
Nice.
fun.
it's not on sale on the Steam sale. I just checked.
Is it not?
It's $10.99 Canadian.
You know-
So I actually don't know what that is now that the pound is not where it usually is.
£60.
Oh come on!
At least the price of a loaf of bread.
I was gonna say it used to be. I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to take a while for retailers. If the pound stays where it is, it's going to take a while for the retailers to catch down.
It always does. The market does always take a little bit of time to actually be affected by sort of where the pound and the currency it sort of lies. It's the same within housing, the housing market as well. It takes a while. The housing market takes a lot longer than a lot of other things. But yes, I suppose it kind of leads me into the game that I've been playing quite easily, which is Volume.
Yeah.
Which is very similar in that it is very quick levels that you have to make your way through. They're not 10-second levels. Some of them can be up to sort of 2 minutes long, but Volume is a little bit different. It's not a platformer as such. You are... is it isometric? It's not quite isometric, is it? It's sort of top-down, not quite
stealth.
top-down, sort of three-quarter sort of stealth platformer almost. It kind of brought on memories of the sort of the VR training missions from the original, or from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Very similar in that sort of sense. You make your way through a level which it is almost kind of a maze. You have to work out the way that you want to get around it, but there are various obstacles, such as guards, or further in the game, sort of turrets, and they have vision cones, and you can duck beneath these vision cones to make your way past them, or you unlock lots of different mechanics as you sort of make your way through the levels. So you can pick up an item which you can throw, which makes a sound in the distance, and now turn and look at it so you can make your way past, or an ability to be able to run a little bit faster. So you can get past pads on the ground which will make a loud noise as you step on them. So sort of as with the game you've been playing, Lucy, it sort of ramps up the difficulty but gives you the mechanics to be able to overcome them, just to give more variety, I suppose, within the later levels. With Volume, it released with 100 levels, and I'm probably only maybe 50 levels in. Again, it has a tacked-on story, which is quite interesting, to be fair, and it doesn't ever take you out of the missions. You can finish a level and then go straight into the next one, and the story is just told through dialogue as you're going through the level. I suppose the aim of the level is to collect a load of diamonds and then make it to a pad at the end, or back where you started, to finish the level. And it's all about a guy who is kind of undertaking heists, which is why it's diamonds, I suppose, that you sort of have to collect, but sort of set in this dystopian kind of VR training room future.
Yeah, like cyberpunky, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And that one's made by Bithell Games, by Mike Bithell.
The hero who is Mike Biffle.
Yes, yes. We're massive fans of Thomas Was Alone.
Oh, I love that game.
And I've been playing this on PS4. Picked it up in a. They occasionally have these flash sales, or the digital discount sales that PlayStation 4 do.
There was one in Canada a few days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of the Steam sale. It's like, really?
Well, they've got to try and get some of that share, haven't they? I mean, with a lot of like PlayStation and Xbox, they now do a lot of digital-only games, which you don't get a hard release of. They need to start bringing people in from the massive marketplace that is Steam.
I played it on Vita, and it was such a good fit for Vita. Because it's one of those games where it's just, pick up, knock out a few more levels, etc., etc. Yeah, I played it at work on Vita. It was brilliant.
One of the interesting things that I haven't looked at yet is the creation tool. That there are. So there's these 100 levels for you to be able to play, but there are, I suppose, infinite levels or as many as there has been created sort of community created levels, and I've not jumped in to see how the creation tool works, nor have I played any of the community created levels yet to see sort of what the difference would be, or how hard and fast the rules for creating levels sort of are.
Is this a thing you normally do? Because it seems like, except for maybe, well, no, I know people who always jump into that and sometimes don't really care about the regular game, like the people who have that modding spirit, if not modding practice, those weird creative types, unlike us who are weird talk about creative types things. But and then there's people like me who almost never look in that section of a game, and I was just curious where you guys lie on that, or do you lie in the middle, thus ruining my dichotomy?
I'm not very creative at all, so I love that they're there, those creation tools, because as you said, makes infinite amount of levels and just gives a game that longevity. But no, I'm not someone who tends to like that.
Do you play them, or do you just like that they exist?
I like that they exist, and I do play the odd ones. I mean, look at Super Mario Maker, perfect example.
Well, I almost mentioned around that. But then I realized that it's it's a biased sample, because no one who isn't into that would buy it. It's a game made for the former group.
But that's the thing. I think there's a stark contrast, because I think with Volume they do have. I know at the beginning I think they had like Mike Biffle actually uploading new levels that he had made.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so at the start. I don't know if he's still doing that, or his development team's still doing that. But there's such a massive
good idea.
Yeah, there's such a massive difference between people who know how to design a game and people who don't. And it's just like I played some of the Volume ones from other people, and they were all just way too hard or too obscure. You didn't even know what you had to do or where you had to go. And I didn't really pick that up again. But if the development team continue to release levels that way, then I'd get back into playing Volume.
I suppose it's kind of, you want almost a curation of it, don't you? Someone to pick and choose sort of the best kind of levels to be able to play, which kind of goes on a couple of days or a weekly rotation. So you're always having new things highlighted to play, but then that means that the Bithell games have to dedicate one person to actually go into that every week and spend time to actually keep on top of it.
But they could just add sort of user stars
ratings,
yeah, quite possibly.
And then you could just have two filters: one all time high or highest rated, and highest rating in the past week.
Yeah. Good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
From my point of view, it's something that I do jump into. I remember playing Little Big Planet and creating some absurd levels and
I did do that on the original Little Big Planet. I will say that. And again, it's I think it's much like the Mario Maker. It has its own plot, but really most people were playing around with what people published to some extent. Like, it was very much, it captured people's imaginations that way.
I think one of the games that I probably spent the most amount of time actually creating something on was, I don't remember which number in the series it was, but it's one of the Tony Hawk games. And actually sort of building my own skate park, which at the time, I'm sure it was one of the PlayStation 2 games, because I didn't have the router, the network adapter plugged into the PlayStation, so the PS2 wasn't online, so I wasn't taking anyone else's levels that they'd made, and I wasn't able to share them. The only people that I could share these levels with were my friends, who I invited round to come and have a go. Really, but I'm not sure whether
I spent a lot of time on that level. I think it was 4, was it? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think that's the only example where I've actually, tinkered with the creation tools.
I would only on Skate 3. I would tinker with the creation tools only to the extent of trying to make really stupid stunts.
Yeah, yeah.
Like getting on top of the sports arena and then putting a ramp or whatever, and seeing if you can land on one of the sort of poles that's has a bit of a landing part, like 20 meters outside. Was basically trying to get to places that you shouldn't be able to get to. That was how I Skate 3.
Was it Skate 2 or Skate 3 with the dam?
I think it was 2.
Because I just remember spending so much time at the top wheeling towards the dam and just jumping off and seeing how the character bounced around and all of that X-ray sort of vision mode as their bones broke. A little bit sadistic, perhaps.
Oh, it's just like a Chow Yun-Fat movie from the late 90s, mid to late 90s.
Nice.
What was that? Romeo Must Die. That was a Jet Li movie.
That was a Jet Li movie.
But it had that as well. I think the first time the oldest film I know that had it was, I think it's Full Contact, I think, Chow Yun-Fat, 1993. I think that had it. So, this has been... Oh, I don't even have a good reference for filmed up. Was it canistered up? No, that doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
So
So,
I don't remember what film
you,
came in for a second, and there's like film canister. Oh, I guess canned up.
Canned up? What have let's lead into your game. What have you been playing this week? Have you played anything this week with, further packing? Well, you're all packed up now, aren't you? So.
Oh yeah, the house has no furniture. It has the air mattress that I'm going to sell/give away on my last day in town, and it has my office chair because no one in Kijiji wanted that. Which is, do you have Kijiji?
No.
No, it's like Gumtree and Craigslist. It's just the predominant one in Canada, and it is Swahili for village, and we have a spare door from at some point in the house's history. It's like 1913, something like that. So it's got these like crystally metal handles, like it's of the era. But no one wanted to buy my collapsible sawhorses. So sawhorses plus door equals desk, and that is my current gaming platform. Where I literally mean it is a platform that I built to game on. I haven't really played that much. I have tried to play things because I've tried to figure out how I got my GT 780 video card.
Yeah.
GTX 780 video card to work on the MacBook Air via the Thunderbolt, which is possible, and that's how I gamed when I was in Saskatchewan. And I played Just Cause 2 with all the bells and whistles. This was right before Just Cause 3 came out, and it was great. And I was like, oh, well, I should recreate that, because then I can bring that setup to England, and then I won't be so sad. But something went wrong, and then Windows exploded, and then for an afternoon, the partitions were so messed up I could barely get to an operating system. So I played the game of tinkering around, and the game of painting a house, and Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
Is that all? Lego Star Wars is all 6 of them, isn't it?
It's the first 6, yeah. But then there's Lego Star Wars 3, which was based on the Clone Wars cartoon.
Right.
And it was called 3 because originally it was Lego Star Wars 1 and 2, which were the 2 trilogies. I can't remember which ones came out first. But then they came out, you can't buy them separately, they just came out with a complete one. So every time you see the Lego games on sale, it's like, Lego Star Wars 3. Well, I want Lego Star Wars 2. It doesn't exist. Yeah, it's a lot better with the Steam controller than a mouse and keyboard.
Nice.
I just have never bothered to play a Lego game with a controller, because I always forget that I can do that on a PC. But I'm really enjoying it, and it's nice and simple. And I think it was mostly because I kept seeing adverts and blog posts about Force Awakens Lego, which came out today.
Yes, I think so.
And so it's like, well, that's going to cost a lot of money. Why don't I play one of the oldest Lego games that's not Indiana Jones?
And it still holds up.
Oh, it's great.
Well,
yeah.
I guess they were pretty simple. And they always have been with that formula, so yeah.
And I don't honestly, I mean, it's interesting because Lego. This was back when even the licensed Lego just had the 2 dots and the smile for the heads. They were just all flesh-colored heads. That's when that game first came out. So your guys look weird because now they would have some, coy expression or something.
Or facial hair.
Yeah, and also they don't talk because now all Lego games need people to talk. But I didn't really notice the lack of dialogue. I think it's also because now, except for this game and maybe the Avengers, which I haven't played, and Jurassic World, most of them have been not based specifically on a plot. So Lego Star Wars, the plot, so it's not a big deal that you don't hear the actors doing like the vocal transitions between things, because I know exactly why they're on that ship. I know exactly what's going on. Oh god, there's Jar Jar. Can I kill him? Can I just let him die? Oh, I'm running out of studs because I just keep killing Jar Jar. Yeah, so I still like the Lego games, and it's along the lines of what you guys were saying. It's a little longer per session, but it's a quick sit down, bash out a level. Go back to painting.
I always find those games. I'm not a big fan of them, but I quite enjoyed them when we turn them into 2-player games.
I was going to say it's so much better with 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Or 4 people. I don't know if you can do. You can have 2 people. Or anything.
I don't know if you can do that.
It would be awesome as 4 people, but I think you'd just be pandemonium.
Yeah, there'd be far too much going on, because don't the studs, when you collect them, they
fly up into your
corner as such. Yeah. So if you had 4 people doing that all of the time, you just have studs all over the place. You have no idea what's going on.
Like a male strip club.
It would be, well, yes. I thought you'd said like a maelstrom then, which would have been similar, but
Maelstrom Male Strip Club sounds like a hilarious place. Yes.
Come on down to the Maelstrom.
Okay, I'm not hearing well because I heard "Come on, Dad."
No, dad's involved. I'm not a dad yet, so we can't do that. I'm going to open my second beer because I've absolutely banged through this high wire.
It was lovely, wasn't it?
It was nice. It was really nice.
So I'm having that problem with a really long finishing IPA in that I have a lot left because I just don't think of sipping as long as it tastes in my mouth. And to be honest, the taste hasn't really left my mouth. That's what she said.
Rancid. So I am opening up an Arbor. You know I love my Arbor beers. And this is a Summit. It's a single hot IPA. So it is just Summit hops.
But how many of the hops?
Well, you one of your beers last week had 5 out of 7 hops, didn't it?
Yeah, whatever that means.
I'm calling this, a 5 out of 7.
It doesn't say it's IBUs or anything on it, does it?
I'll have a quick look, but I've pulled that a little bit too quickly. Let's have a look. No, the Arbor ones don't give you a lot of that sort of techie information that some
I didn't think they did.
The other beers do. But it's a pint bowl, 6.5%. It's a very nice colour, quite similar to the high wire, but a little bit darker, not quite as.
They're both not filtered, or at least not.
No, I don't believe. Yeah, exactly. Very opaque. It has got a very nice, like a really, really fruity nose to it, but not in the same way as the high wire. Maybe it's not quite that tropical sort of fruity that the high wire is going to be. Something slightly different, but kind of still a nice sweetness to it.
Nose is a honey sweetness or like a brown sugar?
Almost like a sugary kind of sweetness. And on the taste, it's not quite the same, but it's still got that sweetness to it. But it is hoppy. It's a nice hoppy taste, but with a very slight, almost like say like a brown sugary kind of sweetness to it. And that's Arbor are just very good at making beer. This is absurd.
I think that needs to be the Twitter quote. Ellipses. Arbor is just ellipses. Really good at making beer. They're
a Bristol-based brewery, Lucy, which is why I've had sort of quite a lot of their beers. They're in sort of almost all of the bottle shops that I visit, but I've not that I've been in many bottle shops elsewhere. in sort of Bristol, but I've not seen them anywhere else. I can imagine you can probably get them in other places.
I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah.
For them.
No, this is nice. It's got a nice long finish on it. That sweetness sort of sticks around quite a lot.
Now,
It's sort of hit by the hops straight away, but yeah.
So
Good.
it sounds like it's sort of the opposite of mine in that it's big on the hops, but the finish is very hop-like. Light. Hop-light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hop-like and the hop-light are very different things.
Good. Are you ready for your second, Luce?
I think I am, but yeah, it's the Blood Orange IPA that I'm going to open up now.
Nice.
Let's have a look. Look at this.
Lucy's much fancier than us because she actually bothers to get a new glass.
I just swirl mine around and try and drink as much of it as possible.
I'm going to make the claim that given the strength of the beers we usually taste, the few milliliters that might taint them of the previous beer get drowned out quite literally. I've also made the case that I'm very lazy.
Yeah. Well, yes. That beer looks really dark.
I don't know if it's dark room because the sun has just disappeared, but
Well, if you hold it up to the screen.
Yeah.
Oh,
some
bit
lights.
Right.
it's quite dark, but
yeah.
it's clearly dark orange.
Yeah.
It looks like
Deep
like
gold,
a milk
dark,
chocolate
yeah.
that has like one of the also like a very milky chocolate, but also has orange in it.
Yeah, I mean that's what they said. I mean that it's got blood orange colour, blood orange IPA. But let me smell it. Not much orange coming through on the smell. Oh wow, that's quite. It's nice actually, but the body's a bit heavier than I thought. But
Yeah. So that was a sort of a face of someone that wasn't quite sure
yeah.
what they thought of it.
It's
I
just
think that's one of my
your eyes
favorite moments
sinking.
in tasting random beers you come across, when you are immediately startled by the taste, and then you sort of have a couple seconds and then realize this is quite good. It's just totally not what I was
thought
ready
it'd
for.
be, yeah. Not too hoppy. I mean, I think I'm drinking it a bit warmer than I should have. It says recommended at 7 degrees. It's 41 OBU, so not bad. Yeah, it's quite nice. Not much hops, as I would have thought. But yeah, it's got Citra, Cascade, and Mosaic hops. You can tell the Citra with the overall taste. But it tastes a bit like a stout at the same time. It's really quite strange. It's got like almost coffee maltiness to it, and it's so
Nice. Is it kind of like the sort of like the black IPAs I've had a few of, where it's just got that almost. It's almost in the consistency of it rather than in the sort of the taste of it. It's just got that slight little thickness to it, which kind of makes you think of a stout, which I suppose once you then start, when you're drinking it and you start thinking about another beer, you sort of start to take on the...
I think that's generally a tasting thing.
It's really quite complex, but it's still really well balanced. But yeah, it's got a range to it. It's like, it's not your typical IPA. I would say, yeah, you're probably closer to being correct with the black IPA, but it's not as well. It's 6.2, yeah. So it's not. It's strange. It's hard to put my finger on it, but I think black IPA is probably the best way to describe it. But it's not black; it's orange.
Well, it's blood orange though, so it's still a BIPA.
Yeah,
or a boipa. It's a boipa, I guess.
Boipa. Nice. You just look ready, Aadil, to open up your up your next beer.
So this, the one I teased earlier, is made by Propeller Brewing, which is on Gottingen Street in Halifax. Although some people say Gottingen. And I don't know. I've never known. I've lived here for 2 years, and I sometimes say Gottingen, and sometimes I say Göttingen. Mostly I say Göttingen because it sounds like cotton gin, and Cotton Gin Street is hilarious, given the horrible, horrible history of Halifax being the first place of settlers from Europe and Canada. It's Propeller is a lovely brewery, but this is their mashup. Well, they've joined forces with Flying Monkey's Craft Brewery, where I don't actually know where Flying Monkey is from, and it is how do you make flying monkeys? Add a propeller. So the tagline is 2 craft breweries, 1 by sea, 1 by lake, 1 great beer. So obviously Propeller's by the sea. There's a lake near Flying Monkey, I guess, and it's got quite the complex label.
Yes.
Oh, completely the opposite to this then.
Yeah.
Just writing.
So I'm super interested because I've never had a white IPA.
I think I might have.
Yeah, I think I might have, but not that I can recall who it was from.
It might have been Big Hug Brewing, or I know they changed their name recently. Big Bear Hug Brewing or something like that. Might have been from them.
You sort of imagine with a white IPA that it's going to be a lot lighter in colour, don't you? Obviously, with a black IPA, it is very literal that you have that very black colour to it. So I'm not sure what else, by calling something a white IPA, I'm not really sure what that definition sort of means, really.
Yeah, no, I've something to research.
I've done a Ben and poured this.
A load of head, nice.
See, that's it's not even straw.
Sorry?
It's like, I was about to say that's not what we thought it would look like, is it?
It is yellowier and lighter than my last beer, but not by a whole lot. It's I think it looks a lot of the darkness comes from the fact that it's cloudy, it's unfiltered versus the last one, which was clear. Yeah. It's clearly North American because I got like 2.5 inches of head. Har har. I see that smirk, Mr. Northern.
I'm trying not to laugh at your rude jokes.
It wasn't the joke. There's 2.5 inches ahead. The joke would be something along the lines of, "Oh, she couldn't take it all," or something, or "Oh, that's all you've got," or "I didn't think that half inch existed."
How does your beer smell?
It immediately when I poured it, I got a hit of I don't know what sweet it is, but it's like a candy. It's not quite those weird, chewy or gummy. Well, not gummy. Those chewy, foamy banana candies.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have quite the strength of banana, but in that family, there's a sweet that this smelled from about 1.5 feet away as I poured it, exactly like. But I'll give it a bit closer smell.
Yeah, I remember one of our sort of initial episodes, at least in the first sort of run of 10 episodes that we did.
You mean the first season?
Yes, the first season. Alex was. We had a couple of beers which had that kind of almost bubblegummy kind of flavour, which was a very banana-y sort of taste. And Alex, off the top of my head, I seem to remember he was saying that there was this. That in the beers that we'd had, it was one very specific hop which brought that to the beer. So it'd be interesting to know what hops you do have in that.
Well, thanks to the Out of Live's slight technical difficulties, now my podcast app is telling me that I haven't listened to almost all of them.
You have to go back.
So I mean I can't just click on them and say Mark is unplayed. That'd be cheating, right?
It would, yes, it would.
Okay. Oh wow! You get up close. You get a lot more. I don't know what that is. You know the sort of the undercurrent of rankness you get on a very, very strong smelling skunky beer, like not the skunk hit, but that sort of, for lack of a better term, that sort of lower, something's off, but smell, like it's not actually
mustiness or something.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it has a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting that from this Arbor now as well. To be fair,
Now.
not precisely now, but as I've been drinking it, yeah.
Fuck.
Fringe issues.
And I still get it's not that strong, but it completely overpowers that that sweetness I was describing earlier. It's just a sweetness sort of from further away you can smell, and then up close it's just completely crowded out. But I will take a swig. I will have to have another sip.
Can't quite get it.
Well, it's odd because IPAs usually leave your mouth sort of dry.
Yeah.
And this is actually leaving my mouth feeling wet.
Okay.
Like there's there's some sort of body that sort of lingers on the top of my mouth and my tongue. It has the citrusiness of like a Hefeweizen.
Yeah.
You know, which isn't super strong citrusy, but clearly citrusy.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are that many hops in it. I'll have to come back. There's also a taste that I can't quite place right now. That is the predominant flavor. But why don't we talk about Grand 2 Auto?
Yes. G2A. Oh, they've been silly buggers, haven't they?
Well, have they been silly buggers, or are they? And they always have been.
They always have been. It's just now that they've been caught out on it. So.
Yeah. Why don't you give us a rundown of what G2A is, Aadil? Because we talk about it quite a lot on the podcast. Not because we've ever really used them, because we look at things.
I won't lie. I've used them to sell some keys and to buy some keys, and it wasn't until the tiny
build.
Yeah.
I had tiny build in my head, and then I was like, that doesn't sound right, but apparently it was. It wasn't until that article, which I will get to in a second, that I really realized what the damage was going on. But basically, they are a reseller market. It's like eBay's buy it now only for keys. So you basically sellers can list their keys, which are loosely verified, which I still don't know how they do, but they know how to reject keys. You basically put up a sale saying, I have a key for this game, and I want this price, and people will buy it. And they charge a small fee for each transaction, so the seller gets the entire amount that they are saying they're selling it for. And so if the search is reasonably robust, but it wasn't until very recently that it used to be the case that you type something and get that usual autocomplete. But you couldn't hit enter and get the full list. It would just take you to the first entry, unless you clicked on another one. Now it'll actually do a proper search, which I was like, woohoo! Except now I don't really want to use this website, so boo-hoo. But you can sometimes get games for very cheap, for a multitude of reasons. I thought it was predominantly two things, which was buying a bundle or buying a bunch on a Steam sale, and then 6 months later, like, you're sitting on keys that, if you want the game, you're not near a sale, so suddenly there's a super cheap price because they didn't pay a lot.
Yeah.
I call that prospecting them. And that's what I've done a couple times, like bought a cheap bundle on Bundle Stars because I wanted one of the games, and that one game was still cheaper. Buying the bundle of like 5 to 7 games was still cheaper than buying the one game. And then listing the other ones for, a couple cents lower than the lowest price they're currently listed for.
Yeah.
And then the other thing would be currency exchange things. So a lot of countries there's no North American region Steam keys. There's Steam global keys. There are European keys, but I get the impression that it's mostly for the blocks on German games for certain types of titles, where you sort of censored or complete blockages of certain games.
I think for Russian as well, perhaps.
Russia has it, but that's a lot has to do with currency,
right?
Because their purchasing power of their is a lot different. Like if you did the straight currency exchange, the Steam games are like sometimes 10% of what they would be here,
Right.
but the purchasing power is so different. Like you can't just go by the exchange rate. What they can do with their money is a lot more than if you traded it in for pounds and tried to do it, kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
But that's why they have the region restriction, so that you couldn't just get a friend in Russia, to just buy a bunch of games and then send you the keys and then you get them super cheap. So that's why they have the regions, right? But there's still gaps. For instance, depending on how they react to the pound and how long the pound stays where it is or in that range, it might be cheaper to buy buy North American keys, just because they won't make sense anymore, or vice versa, right? Like, I can't. So that's the sort of was my working impression of G2A. And so I liquidated a bunch of keys to get The Division on PC. I think I talked about it before. That was my first real, like, hey, there's an expensive game I can't afford. I'm just going to see if I can afford it by getting rid of keys that I'm lying around from bundles, etc. And that worked reasonably well. I still have a few keys left over, etc. But then Tiny Build came along.
Yep.
And they posted... Do you remember where?
I believe it was... I saw it on Eurogamer. But I think they... Tiny Build first went onto Reddit.
That's right. It was a Reddit post.
And posted about their issues with G2A.
And G2A has been gaining traction. So like a year ago, not many people... Only like certain hardcore people knew about G2A. And now almost everyone does.
Yes.
And that's a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have an incentive program where you can basically, as a user, you can generate a code which will give people like 3% off or whatever. But then depending on how many people use your code, they'll do kickbacks. So a lot of the YouTubers are quote unquote sponsored by G2A.
Yes. Yeah.
So they've really started pushing G2A because that's their sponsor and they get the dollars. And okay, so that happens. But then Tiny Build came along and he told Tiny Build, I can't remember the name of the guy now, but he told the story of the latest game that they have, and I can't remember that either. That's why I'm telling this story.
Punch Club, yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
Because they've actually spoken about Punch Club prior to this, saying how, piracy affects... I think it had been downloaded more, millions of downloads had been pirated, etc., rather than bought,
Yeah, I remember that, actually, but I've always had a problem with that argument because there's this giant fallacy that underpins it, which is that every person who pirated this game has the ability and would buy it. And I think that's just not true. There's a lot of gamers out there who have... I mean, I used to be like this, hypothetically, when I was younger, with films. There was like a tier of buy it, download and keep, and download. And then if the download and keep, I watched a few times, I might just go buy the Blu-ray or the DVD.
Yeah.
And I definitely know people who are like that with games. And that doesn't make... So you can't... obviously there's a large chunk of those people who might buy your game, but you can't say that because 4.5 million people downloaded the game, you have lost 4.5 times $10 or whatever. But he actually did some maths.
Yes, before you go on, it was Alex Nichiporic.
Yeah, he's a CEO, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have the article up with the maths?
I have. He suggested that all of their keys, I don't have exactly the keys between, because it was, I believe it's Punch Club, Party Hard, Speedrunners, and maybe a fourth game. But they reckon that through the G2A marketplace, about $450,000 worth
made
were stolen.
I thought they were saying that they made... I thought it was more than that. I thought they were saying that they made... G2A would have profited... Oh, no, you're right. I've got the Tiny Builds. I've got the actual article up. You're right. So G2A sold 450,000 dollars worth of their keys.
Yes.
And they say G2A is like eBay for games. You can get a key, sell it on G2A, make some money. But
the problem with this was that a load of keys had been sold through TinyBuild's website, and they had been then their bank or whoever their marketplace person was for their website had stopped any further sales going through because there'd been reports of stolen credit cards being used to buy these keys.
Well, it's not even about reports. It's the fact that when a stolen credit card uses these things, they then do a chargeback.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Right? So the credit card company says, whoa, this was not right, this person didn't do it, and they try and they do a chargeback, and because everything's now online, it's not even an argument, right? They can just take the money.
Exactly, yeah.
And so now now it's a key that wasn't sold, right? Mm-hmm. For all intents and purposes, the money came in for a week or two and then left again. But someone has the game, and G2A takes their 3% or their small fee, right? Mm-hmm. And is this is what I was alluding to with the. I didn't really think about how this was part of the model. So Alex actually talked to a G2A merchant, and he makes $3,000 to $4,000 a month on G2A.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the way he does it is he gets a hold of a database of stolen credit cards on the dark web. He goes to a bundle third-party key reseller, buys a ton of game keys, and so these are the legit resellers, like your Humble Bundles, your Indie Galas, your Bundle Stars. And then he puts them on G2A and sells them for half the retail price. And it turns out that these distribution partners are getting just destroyed by the chargebacks.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford things, because they're selling keys that they're getting wholesale from either Steam, which is rarer, or more likely the actual developer, like I said, distribution partners. So you have a big reach, so I'm going to sell you, 1,000 keys at 10% of the price. But we're a small firm, so we'll still make more money that way than we would with the small reach we would generate ourselves.
Yes, I think the main problem with it isn't just the selling, is it? It's G2A's sort of overall response with this as well, by saying to TinyBuild, if you come to us and tell us which of those keys were purchased with stolen credit cards and which you have been not been compensated, they've not been purchased as such, or they've had to give the money back to the stolen credit card, then we will do something about it. We'll be able to help you in this. And Alex's issue is, how am I going to go through, the tens of thousands of keys to work out which ones are stolen and which ones are legit? It's unfeasible for me to be able to actually do that.
And I can't remember what the exact time frame, but G2A basically said you have 3 days to comply.
Yeah.
Ed 209 style is. They ended up getting screwed by their own shop got screwed by chargebacks, but
yes,
they were actually talking to G2A about being a direct distribution partner, which gave them, in the discussions, actual sales statistics, which is the maths I was alluding to. And that's where the $450,000 comes from, because he has access to the units sold and the average price of these 3 games, but also how many chargebacks came back, etc.
Before we get into G2A's response and how it's sort of gone through it, Lucy, have you used G2A at all?
I hadn't even heard of them prior to this story, so I wasn't even aware of their existence. But I know that TinyBuild have always been quite outspoken about this kind of stuff, so it's not surprising that they were the ones who, quote unquote, broke this story. So.
Yeah.
They definitely aren't shying away. I think they've realized. I think actually it has to do with the fact that I was talking about earlier. That sort of fallacy at the piracy claims is that one of the fears people have is alienating your user base by crying about being pirates and how that sucks. But I think they've realized that these users aren't really. There's like the amount of money they would legit make off these users is so low it's basically negligible, so you might as well scream to high heaven about what's going on, or at least talk to high heaven. What I do respect is that they try and make very clean, fact-driven arguments. Obviously you could probably find some biases, etc., but like it's very much this is what's going on, here are the facts, here is how I came to the facts. Even the piracy, they gave the numbers, but like I said, I think there was a false premise there, but this argument seems a lot more sound, and also it shows the disincentive G2A has to address this problem, because again, G2A doesn't make, no matter what the price of the game is, G2A makes sort of the same nominal fee, right? They just want they want as many keys sold as possible because they get their fee every time.
Yeah.
And also, they have their weird G2A shield, which is another scam, by the way.
Completely. We'll move on to actually what G2A.
It's my fault.
Yes. What their response was to TinyBuild, and they've supposedly they've obviously gone back and thought, well, we'll have a look at this. It's been raised by TinyBuild, and other people are sort of getting onto us and telling us that this is actually an issue, and they've come along and said that they are going to put a support system in place for developers, which essentially allows the developer to put to be able to claim 10%.
Well, so they've allowed developers. They've said we will change our model such that developers can partner with us. I still think there's a partnership involved, but such that no matter where the source of the key is, if a key to your game is sold, you will get 10%.
Yes. But I haven't got a huge amount more detail on it, but it did appear from, as we were talking about Mike Bithell earlier, it did appear from a couple of his tweets that you would still have to, if you wanted to, go to them with like fraudulent keys, that you would still have to do all of the work of finding out which keys were fraudulent and going to them. They weren't going to put any kind of system in place for verification on these keys, that they were purchased from a reputable source. So whether that comes through a bundle or whether someone has purchased it legitimately and then an authorized purchase, yes, that they weren't going to do anything about the actual root cause of this issue. I've got
the 7 points of their actual proposal in front of me, but I will say before that quickly that it's basically saying we'll buy you off with 10%, right?
Yeah,
we're not going to do this thing because no one wants to do this thing. It's too much hassle, but we'll give you a little bit of money and suck it up, right? So they basically say third-party auctions, the developers may apply a royalty of 10% for their products sold, such that they can now monetize third-party transactions. I didn't realize this until I read it right now, but that means that the reseller, the third party, sets it at, say, €5. They have the option of such that if it's automatically recognized that now it has to be sold as €5.50 because they want their 10%.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but there's they haven't put a limit on that, have they? So the the developer can't say the minimum that this game can be sold for is €7.
It's 10%. And again, this is what I was about to jump into, which is if your resellers are like stealing these, then every pence is profit. So 10% of €1 is a lot worse than 45.
Yeah.
They also, if you are selling the keys yourself through G2A, they'll put you at the top of the list of auctions.
Mm-hmm.
they've got some sort of chargeback protection, which is, again, their weird G2A pay nonsense. And they'll give you access to their keys so you can verify.
Right.
They did say that they would give their account manager some sort of support role as well. And they would, as like Humble Bundle is, the option where people could pay more towards the developer and it would go straight to their pockets. And then some nonsense about, look at our global access. We have good reach.
It appears that they're trying to do something, but maybe it's not quite enough for developers. But so, Lucy, I want to get your opinion, because you play a lot of indie games, buy a lot of small developers. So
yeah, it just doesn't. I'm sure it doesn't sit well with a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of developers will rally around this, and as you said, like Mike Biffle has spoken about it, and Tiny Build, they're known for speaking their mind, but just the fact that G2A is saying, we'll give you 10%, that just feels like a bit of an insult. It's like you're doing the wrong thing, and then you just putting a plaster over it rather than actually going to the root cause and changing your business practice. But and the thing is that I don't even think people using G2A are even going to be like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this, etc., etc. I think, bad publicity is still publicity at the, at the end, and so players will be like, oh, I didn't know about this site, I'm going to use them. So, I just think it's not even something to do with G2A specifically, but it's just indicative of how hard game development is and how hard it is to make a profit in the industry, and it's just a shame, to be honest. But those are my thoughts about it. How it actually pans out, we'll see.
Yeah. I'll say one last thing, which is the comments of the CEO of Tiny Build. I've lost him. Oh, it's because Chrome's crashing. Where basically, that's a lot of fluff. The only tangible thing was giving that 10%, but it still doesn't address the underlying issue of stolen keys. And he didn't say this, but he did say this in his original blog post, is he has had distribution partners collapse on him, right? Because they couldn't, because the chargebacks literally ruined the company. This changes none of that.
No, completely. I think it's kind of difficult to say to a company like G2A, not G2A specifically, but just to any company, you need to completely change your business practices to help out other people. Because ultimately they are there, this is their business model, and they want to be making whatever money that they're going to be making, whether that's through exploiting other people or not. Okay, but you sort of need them to take a little bit of responsibility, and they're allowing they're facilitating people being able to sell stolen keys. Yeah, ultimately,
it's witnessing a crime and not calling the cops.
Yes, exactly. So for me, it's not enough. It just doesn't. And I've used G2A before. Before I knew that before I even thought that this was sort of something that was going on, and it's kind of a naive thing to.
Well, like I said, I worked hard at selling keys the way I thought that the sort of ideal model of G2A to get the division, which is a this year game. Like, it was only a few months ago that I did that.
Yeah.
And now all my spare keys will go to steamgifts.com.
Yes.
Because they are just a community that allows you to basically give a code, list it, and then people can use their slowly accruing points to bid on things, and you can only really put your name in the hat once, and then at the end of your time, someone gets it. And that's it.
Yeah.
There's more complicated things with levels and blah blah, but that is where my keys will be going, because you do get rewarded for being part of the community, because the more you give, the higher a level, the more auctions you have access to. But also, I'm not using this. This key has literally been in my hands for 2.5 years. It'll just rot there. I might as well give it to someone who wants the game enough that they went to a website and clicked a button.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So we shall finish there for another week. Let us know your thoughts on this whole G2A
How would
tiny
we do
build
that?
row. Is it a row? I suppose it must be. They can do that in several ways. You can go to our Facebook page. Ooh, Facebook page. That's just Tanked Up Cast.
It's a cast?
I don't know. However,
I think it's just
Facebook
look at Tank Up and
does things.
Yeah.
Yes, you could. You can go to our YouTube page. You can leave comments on YouTube underneath our videos, and that is Tanked Up Cast. Definitely.
And our videos are mostly the podcast because
They are pretty much just the podcast. We are also on Twitter at tankedup_cast. I'm at Nova_47. Aadil is at the Omniarch. So that's how you can talk to the two of us. Lucy, how can people talk to you?
Just follow me on Twitter. It's at Indie Marathon. If you want to add me on Xbox or PlayStation, it's just JuicyLoose9.
Nice.
Also, I'm the Omniarch on all of the things.
You are.
And speaking of Indie Marathon, what is that, Lucy?
It's my site that's dedicated to covering and reviewing indie games. So yeah, come check that out as well.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you had I thought you did a website about beer or something.
That's coming. That's in the pipeline. Which should probably be more appropriate for this.
Not quite there yet.
No,
But, yeah,
we talk about games and beer. It's not more appropriate.
But
yes, so look forward to an upcoming Lucy project of beer.
Yeah, next time I'm on the podcast, hopefully it should be launched. So
Excellent. So, everybody, remember, we are part of the Out of Lives network as well. They've got lots of podcasts which you can go and listen to. You can also go to outoflives.net and look at all of the lovely articles that people are posting and opinion pieces and constant Steam sale and GOG sale articles that I'm writing for all of you goddamn people who want to know about cheap games.
The last time I gave you a hard time about this, you hadn't really written an article for Out of Lives, but you really got to stop saying they and start saying we. You're literally writing for the website now, and you're like, they've got a bunch of podcasts. Is it really because we're not out of Tanked Up? Or out of tank cards?
I don't know. Who knows? And I'm very involved as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've stepped up your involvement.
I know.
And still it's they.
Oh dear.
What is your favourite beer, Ben?
Yes, it's very difficult to choose between the two of these. But I don't know. I'll have
Lucy,
to
why don't you tell us your favourite beer?
That's the thing. I'm not sure. I mean, that Haywire one was really nice. Really nice fruity IPA.
Yeah.
But this blood orange IPA, it's something so it's like nothing I've ever tasted. Without trying to be too hyperbolic, it is really interesting having that IPA and kind of almost stouty, coffee maltiness in it as well.
Yeah.
So
which one?
I'll give them both 5 stars out of 5 stars.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Which would you also, if you saw them both in a bar, a pub? Oh, good lord! Then my North Americanism came out. I said a bar. In a pub. Like if you saw a blood orange IPA in a bar pub,
I probably wouldn't have picked it up. No.
Yeah, but now that you've had it, would you seek it out? Is what I'm trying to ask with my mumbling.
Oh yeah. I mean, Breweridge de Molen, they do some really nice beers. I think this is the second or the third I've tried from them. So yeah, to be honest, I'm going to pick up some more of their beers.
Excellent. Because I've had some really unique beers that I've acknowledged are super unique, but I would never really seek out to have that experience again. I was like, this is a good beer. Would you say the same about your 2 beers?
I would, yeah. The Highwire was really nice. It had a really nice flavour. But I think I would pick the Arbor just because it was the more interesting of the 2 beers, definitely.
For my side, I really like this Graceland. Oh, I don't even think I said the Flying Monkeys beer's name. It's Graceland 2, as in TOO, but it's actually the second time these 2 breweries have come together. And I think that I would say I would pick this one over the other one, just on the interesting sake, and also because it's summer, and like I said, it has that wheat beer Hefeweizen taste. So it's an IPA you could sort of have on a sunny day.
Nice, good, excellent. So for another week, we've been Tanked Up. Thank you very much for listening. Take it easy.
Ciao.
Bye.
And then suddenly it was like, no, I am working. Don't worry about it. It's fine. You can continue.
It's still going.